firstly, thank you for taking the time out to do this. What do you feel your greatest achievement was during your time with Wolves?
Oh, absolutely no doubt, the promotion. I came down in 2001, 2002 on loan initially. Had 5 appearances, 2 as a sub, 3 starts, broke my collarbone. Sir Jack, and the manager Dave Jones at the time felt I'd done enough to spend a bit of cash on me and bring me down permanently. And I think it was December I signed. And we were absolutely flying, and we crumbled towards the end of that season and never made it. Fell into playoffs, lost out to Norwich in the semi-final, and then got promoted the next year. So it was and again through the playoffs. We would have much preferred probably winning the league or going up, but I think that day, I'll never be forgotten. Even as for the players that I've played in it, we had such a good squad, a good tight group of players. You'll always be remembered for that day. So there's absolutely no doubt that is the standout kind of moment. And I think it's not just about the game and achieving promotion. I think when I look back and you see the pictures and the banner behind the goal pretty much to the second, how long it had been without Wolves being back in the top flight, it was, we knew what it meant to everybody. I think it was a special day, and even now when you look back on it, I think that team and achieving the promotion to the Premier League, that will always be remembered. So you played your part in that. So absolutely, that would be the standout memory. Listen, aside from the people that I met, coming back down and seeing Big Matty, we were a really tight group. Jolie and Lee Naylor, with a really good group. George and Da, Paul Ince, Scots, Colin Cameron and Alex Ray were obviously in the team as well. So we had a really good group, So Mark Kennedy, it was good, we bumped into him a few months back at the kind of 20-year anniversary of the promotion. So it was good to see the guys. My big strike partner Nathan Blake was there as well. So we had a really good group. So the memories, so many good memories over the 5 years I was at the club, but absolutely the standout would be that day in Cardiff.
You scored many goals for Wolves. Is there any that stick out in your memory? Could you pick a favourite one?
Obviously the goal against Man United, which beat Man United on that day, is obviously a special goal. Again, it wasn't probably the greatest game to remember because you're up against it because you're playing the best team in England at the time. So there was a lot of running and a lot of work. There wasn't a lot of kind of good football probably played for us that day. But that's always a big goal, a big memory. But it's a playoff final goal. I think the second half of that season, we really took off. Personally, I kind of really hit good form. I think I scored 20 goals over the second half of that season for club and country. So it was a really, really good moment. But just that whole run, I think there was a run. I'd scored 7 games in a row over that period as well. So it was just a really, really good spell that obviously led to that moment in Cardiff.
Using the current squad that Wolves have, what current player would you have liked to play with?
It's a hard one. I mean, I know he's left since, but I always thought Neves was an outstanding player, and I think he really elevated kind of Wolves, and he came at a young age. But just the way he kind of adapted to the game, it would have been nice to play with him. I think his passing and things for that area of the midfield, again, the spectacular goals that he had scored over his time as well. I mean, he would have been he would have been able to provide me with quite a few more goals actually had I played with that lad. So it was absolutely. I know he's left now, but I've watched him over the last few seasons, and I mean, top player.
Obviously, you've played English football, and obviously you've also played in Scotland. What would you say the main differences was, and how did you adapt to the different styles and the physicality to the game as well?
That is different. I think the quality in England is obviously probably a good deal higher, and again that comes down to finances and resources to the clubs, particularly now. It's even so much more so now than what it was when I was playing down here for Wolves and other clubs in England. But it is, it's more the quality. I think in Scotland, particularly when you're playing with the bigger teams like Rangers and Celtic, you're faced with different challenges. You're faced with a lot of teams playing kind of defensive games. I felt when you're playing for Wolves, I really felt, like I said, for 4-5 seasons I was here at Wolves, we had a brilliant team. Yeah. But under Glenn Hoddle, I felt we played some really, really, really good football. We probably should have achieved more over those 2 years that we had with Glenn Hoddle in the Championship. And it just maybe seems that the game's probably a lot more open to what I remember playing for when you're at Rangers and Celtic, was you're playing against a lot of kind of more defensive minded teams. So I think when I played for, like I said, with a really, really good team, I go through the team and the careers that the guys had. You think of Lee Naylor and Jolie and where they went on to their careers. Big Matty in goal was like absolutely outstanding. I've said it more like numerous times. Had he not had the injuries, he would have been like Jolie and he would have went on and played for England. Paul Ince, Dennis Irwin, Colin Cameron, we had Sean Newton and Mark Kennedy in the wings, myself, Nathan Blake, George and up front. We were a really, really good, free-flowing attacking team, you know, we played some wonderful stuff. So it did seem to play that way, you need a certain kind of style of game, and I felt probably the game, for me anyway, coming from Scotland, playing for Rangers and Celtic, the game was a lot more open, which allowed you to play that way.
Obviously, as you mentioned there, you played for both Celtic and Rangers, scoring for both sides, against both sides as well.
Yeah.
How did you adapt to that? I mean, especially in such a big derby like that, and scoring against both sides as well, like, and playing against a former team. How did you adapt to those kind of situations?
You know, it was it's the big games and the big moments. You know, that you want to play in the games, you want to perform well in the games. I was pretty fortunate over the course of a career where I scored a lot of goals in those first game. Obviously, more for Rangers against Celtic. I scored like kind of goals in cup finals, the playoff final. Obviously, a lot of international goals as well. So it's like the big games that you want to be playing against the best. You want to thrive in those big moments. You know, so there's no bigger game than that up in Scotland. So when you're coming into it, that's you want to make your mark on it. You know, not that you're trying any harder or you want to score any more, but when you've got the opportunities to play in that kind of game, you have to enjoy it. You know, as a football, like, we know as players, it's a quick career. You know, it flies by. You know, so you've got to savour the moments and make the most of them. And for me, I was, like I said, pretty fortunate in a lot of big games, and I was involved in, and I managed to have some big moments within those games as well.
Using the players that you've played with, what would be your five-a-side team?
Oh well, I'll give you my Wolves team, because the majority would be a mixture probably for kind of Wolves and Rangers. But my Wolves team would be your man in goal, Big Matty. Jolien would be able to marshal the whole back line on his own. Paul Ince would be in midfield with 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably again, I think Colin Cameron would be in there, because I think him and Ince were excellent, and Big Blakey had put up front over myself as the five-a-side team. I think that would be not a bad team, Wolves team, and the guys that I played with anyway.
Who is the toughest defender that you come against during your career?
Right, so that's an interesting question, because I've played against, if you think of the best centre-backs in the world, over my era, I played against them all, you know, from Rio Ferdinand to Terry to Carvalho. Like, partnerships with Terry and Carvalho was outstanding. Ferdinand and Vidic is incredible. I had Cannavaro and Nesta when I played against Italy. I had Puyol and Piqué when I played against Spain. But I'm telling you, Jolie and Lescott in training, the guy was like, I mean, Matty will testify to this, it was absolutely incredible. You know, I mean, the career he went on, he had, and he went on to represent his country. So playing against him in training every day was tough. I mean, it was really, really tough. If I had to pick an opponent, I'd probably say Cannavaro.
Final question from me. For the young strikers and young attackers watching this video, what would your advice be to them wanting to come on into the game and to progress?
You know, for any footballer, you need to make sacrifice. You need to work harder than the guys that you're fighting against. Again, they might be mates, so you're trying to break through in, but you need to work harder. As a striker, you need to keep putting yourself out there in chances, whether you're missing them or taking them. Every striker goes through barren spells where they're missing opportunities, and you might receive a wee bit of criticism for those missed opportunities, but you've got to keep putting yourself out there. But again, it comes back to still working hard, still contributing towards your team, you know. So I think hard work and sacrifice are the big things that you need to as a young player to make it.
Once again, thank you for your time.